All right, thanks. That was quite an introduction, actually. I do want to thank Sean and Laura for inviting me. I especially thank Sean for taking the risk. You know, he's a risk taker, so putting somebody like me on screen in his stead is interesting. So I do want to talk this morning. Let me go ahead and do the technical stuff. Let me share my screen and see if we can get this to. Okay, can you all see the entire slide? Some of your faces are over it, but I think okay. So I want to talk a little bit about marketing core values, but most of all, I started out when I was looking at this presentation and thinking, I couldn't give you a campaign because I don't know enough to give you real campaign stuff. So I want to talk about the stuff that really drives marketing and how we make that work. So any of y'all that have been in a business classroom in the last 50 years know about the guru, Peter Drucker. And he preached that as a business owner, you only have one goal, the creation of customers, and that your goal can only be reached through innovation and marketing. And all of y'all are good at the better, faster, cheaper piece of that equation. So I'm just going to talk about the marketing piece. Let me see if I can get a couple of things running here. I'll update now. Okay. So what I want to talk about this morning is core values. And I'm talking about the core values of effective marketing. I'm not trying to communicate the perfect marketing campaign or specify the best media for any of you here. That'd be the epitome of foolishness because I don't, it's kind of like giving you career advice without knowing who you really are, knowing what your personal strengths and weaknesses are. And although I'm not trying to address specific marketing techniques or media, we will certainly touch on those. The concept of core values really got diluted in the 90s. It got turned into a cliche and it got overused and people quit using it. So the guy that I really like is Gino Wickman. His book Traction reintroduces the whole concept of core values both to your business and to your marketing. And I think it can really drive our marketing efforts. Now, when I say I own a marketing company, each of you develop an immediate mental image of what that is. And that image is based on your past experience and the things that you've seen and done. And it's not exactly the same as my past experience. So we're immediately off to a false start. Say one thing and mean another. Francis Schaeffer, the 20th century theologian and philosopher, put it this way. We need to be forewarned that just because we know what we mean by a term does not assure that the person whom we're speaking to understands precisely the same thing. I'll get to the specifics of what I do in a little bit, but first I want to define marketing as I'm going to be using the term today. Marketing is the carefully planned dissemination of information designed to facilitate the application of your unique solution to their pre-existing problem. And the two words I really want to emphasize this morning are unique and pre-existing. That brings us to the first of the core values. It's got to be genuine. And when I say genuine, I mean honest and forthright. You and I must communicate our genuine and unique solution to a real and existing challenge. That means two things. First, we have to have a viable solution in the form of unique product or service. And second, there has to be a pre-existing need. If the challenge of marketing is finding the people who have that need that fits our solution rather than creating a need. And creating a need to me is really the problem. Contemporary consumer marketing has become the hallmark of creating need, primarily in the area of self-fulfillment. Wear our underwear or our cologne and the opposite sex will fall over you. Replace your 3-year-old carpet with our new flooring and your friends will turn green with envy. That's not marketing, that's manipulation. And the problem is that consumers become numb to it and you have to keep upping the ante every time you do it. So maybe you think I'm a grumpy old man and I'm cynical, but do this simple exercise and I think we'll agree. Put a scratch pad on the end table next to your favorite TV watching chair and put 3 columns on that thing. 1 for sex, 1 for ego, and 1 for intellect. Every time you see a commercial, just put a check mark in which column that commercial appeals to. And I think by the end of the night, we're going to be in agreement. The overwhelming majority of commercials appeal to one of those two, either sex or ego, not much intellect. That's one of the reasons my business has always gravitated towards B2B marketing. In almost every successful business, there are checks and balances in place. And even if we're selling directly to the CEO, they have a board that they have to answer to in regards to return on investment for their marketing dollars. It forces us to sell genuine, rational solutions, not just emotion-based fantasies. The next core value I want to talk about is relational. All marketing, like sales, has to be relational. We easily get used to looking at marketing analytics and we start talking in terms of numbers and forget that we're dealing with real people and issues of products, the real issues that our products and services are designed to help. Real marketing, effective marketing, comes down to one-on-one conversation. Whether you have that conversation today or a year down the line and have to explain what it is that you were saying that is true or not, it's going to be a conversation. In fact, the next person who welcomes me to the new normal is going to get punched in the face. What we're doing here this morning is anything but normal. Normal is looking each other in the eye, shaking hands, sitting down across the desk or table, and having an honest conversation. One where the words are only the foundation, where the body language, eye movement, changes in breathing, even invisible hormones communicate acceptance and rejection. Like I mentioned a few minutes ago, how could I possibly presume to create a marketing plan for you without knowing you personally and your unique plans? However, I do have to admit that we're in a special situation, and that brings up the next thing about marketing, that it's got to be flexible. Well, one of my favorite sages, Paul Mayer, the race goes not to the swift, but to the person who most quickly adapts to the evolving circumstances. You probably noticed how seamlessly Garland Chamber transitioned to live meetings. That was very much due to Paul's leadership. And what he has to say, I think, is important. If we stand around scratching our heads while our competition is out of the starting blocks and they're dancing around new obstacles, we're still going to be standing when the race is over. And even though they have a few sprained ankles and bruises, they're going to have beaten us to the finish line. Technology is a great asset. What we're doing here today is a great alternative to live meetings in our particular environment. But we got to keep in mind the end goal is relational. And if we use technology as an excuse to compromise our integrity, we've misused the technology. Since we're on the subject of the current dilemma, that brings up the core value of effective marketing. It's optimistic. And I'm not talking about irrational optimism like a lot of people use. I'm talking about optimism based on experience. Martin Seligman, I don't know if any of y'all have read his book, Learned Optimism, but he talks about the destructive nature of a learned helplessness. He describes three characteristics. First, it's personalized, in that we see our problems being only as ourselves. Woe is me. Second, we see our problems being pervasive, impacting every area of our lives when it's only a narrowly focused issue. We're only wearing face masks and washing our hands. Third, we begin to view the problem as permanent. The sky is falling. Now, I don't want to minimize the current COVID epidemic, but I do want to point out that every generation for the past 150 years has faced a crisis and triumphed over them. World War I came along. It was the war to end all wars. Except World War II came along and it's even worse than World War I. The Spanish flu came along and took out 10% of the human population. I mean, that makes COVID look like an amateur. The Depression came along and made people jump out of perfectly good skyscrapers. And then polio came up. And that's not even to mention Korea and Vietnam and the stuff that's been going on in the Middle East for all these years. But all of these crises were overcome by our own families. And we eventually overcome the current crisis and return to the real normal. We have good reason to be optimistic. The future of our products, services, the future of our products and services should convey that optimism. We should convey optimism in everything we do in the terms of marketing. The next core value is that it's creative. And in particular, I want to talk about audience appropriate creativity. One of my college advertising professors back in the last century kept pounding us with the idea that there are no formulas in advertising and marketing. And being the rebellious sort, I spent the next 40 years trying to prove him wrong, and I believe I've come upon the perfect formula. In C equals I over E. C is effective communication, and it always happens as a result of the right ratio of information to entertainment. A young group of Army recruits in basic training requires a whole lot less entertainment value to their drill instructors' communication than prospective clients skimming a product brochure. Too much information and they get bored for that 3 seconds it takes them to move on to the next subject. Too much entertainment and they think we're trying to cover something up. So one of the reasons we as humans can overcome the background barrier and communicate so effectively is that we can infuse our information with entertainment. We can communicate emotion and it draws on personal experience. We can, as marketers, we need to stay aware that the audience makeup and their level of need for the entertainment. So we want to give them the right amount of entertainment for what they need and who they are and what their interest in us is. The next core value I want to talk about is that it's compassionate. And this should have been further up the list, but it is what it is. Effective marketing has to be compassionate. I'm not saying that we have to go around like a bunch of missionaries trying to change the world. But I am saying we get easily caught up in our own areas of expertise and look down on people who don't know what we know. It's easy to either overestimate or underestimate our prospects' knowledge and experience. Regardless of their level of experience and intelligence, we have to continually remind ourselves that they are fellow human beings made in the image of the creator of the universe. And as such, they merit our respect. That value alone should change the whole voice of our marketing communications. An example of this, when I was at Texas Instruments, we occasionally had a marketing project that rose to the level of engaging the ad agency. And they would typically suggest that I come to their plush offices where they could awe me with everything they knew and then actually tell me about how little I knew about my own product. And when I insisted on them coming to my office because I was busy, they'd show up with 4 guys in suits and they'd walk around the office and our conference room in particular, it's like a mother-in-law coming in with her white gloves, wiping them on the bookshelf to see if there's dust. So when I started the company at Lawson Communications in '88, I vowed I was never going to minimize clients' expertise or abuse their time. And I'd never put profits over people. I don't know if y'all know who John Mackey is. He's the guy that owns Whole Foods. And a few years ago, he and a guy named Raj Sisodia wrote Conscious Capitalism. It specifically captures my thoughts on the way employees should be treated. And I believe applying their principles to marketing can radically change how we communicate. They say you should save the best for last, but all these values work in a unified approach. None, they all culminate in the value of empathy. More than anything else, we must see from our prospects' point of view and engage in benefits marketing. This is really the heart of everything I do. Benefits marketing as opposed to typical ego approach features marketing. We have to see things from their point of view. And I've got an example this morning I want to give you, and it's from a lady who's here in the audience, I'm sure, this morning. I want you to know this isn't just an ambush. I'll clear it with her ahead of time. But Erica Herman owns Kim Dry Marketing, along with some other companies. But Kim Dry recently partnered with a vendor to be the exclusive provider of an impressive product that can kill viruses and bacteria, including SARS coronavirus. That's the virus that causes COVID. It can kill it on every surface type for up to 90 days. And when Erica showed me their original marketing piece, it had 3 long paragraphs and 12 bullets and a whole lengthy thing of disclaimers and these 2 techie looking photos. And my response to her was, this thing was designed to scare the snot out of the competition, but it's not a benefits piece. So I gave her a couple of options. I gave her one for consumers and I gave her one for company owners, something that would do commercial. And needless to say, the response from the folks at corporate was less than enthusiastic. They did tell her she could go ahead and use them, but they insisted we add back a bunch of bullets. So the issue is that all of us, like Kim Dry, are so close to our own solutions that we've created, and we're so excited about them, we forget that they don't really mean much to our clients unless we can give them benefits. This is a great Hollywood line, but it's just not realistic in the business world. If we want to engage in the creation of customers, like Drucker mentioned, we must put aside our ownership and our pride of ownership and see the issues from the prospect's perspective and emphasize how we can eliminate their pain. With all that said, I'd like to provide one simple success story along with prediction of something that's I think where we're going to end up in the future. back in the 90s, clients began asking me for website development. When I'd ask them why they wanted a website, every single one of them said, because we need a presence and everyone else has one. So my response to them was this: building a website is like building a billboard on a 2-lane blacktop in Iowa, 10 miles from the nearest highway. And the big issue is, how are you going to get people to come there? How are you going to get them to stop long enough to read your message? How are you going to stand out from the rest of the mess? So along came Google, and they decided they were going to come up with SEO, and they were going to drive traffic. And the problem with the way Google drives traffic is it's meant to put money in Google's pocket, not in yours. So once they started driving traffic, billboards came up everywhere. It just exploded on the scene. And now your billboard doesn't stick out from anybody else's. So one of the things that we're doing, and we've had really good success with, is a company out in Burleson. And let me see if I can get, I'm sorry, I lost my slides. So these guys build large conveyors. They build screw conveyors that are like a half-mile long. And we realized that 90% of their requests were from industrial engineers and plant managers of heavy manufacturing sites. These people were looking for information. So what we decided to do, our solution was to generate, we generated a couple hundred quick case studies. And these are little one-page pieces, and they give basically the problem, the solution, the customer quote, a couple of pictures, and some financials. And so we didn't push those through traditional means. What we did is we went out to basically the trade pub sites, and we bought these banner ads that are at the top of the trade pub sites. We bought a banner ad for $300 instead of a $10,000 full page ad, and we got a lot more response from those. So by pushing people to those sites and getting their information in order for them to get our information, we got their name, their phone number, and their email. We were able to put them on email drip campaigns, make direct calls to them. And for the C-level people, we even did some dimensional direct mail. Now, in all honesty, this one is not from KWS, but it's the only one I had handy. So we do dimensional direct mail that gets us past the gatekeeper, gets us to any C-level person, and we make them some promise. Take this survey and we'll bring you a Mont Blanc pen. And it's amazing how many of these people that are making $500,000 a year will let your salesman in the door for 20 minutes for a $125 pen. But it is what it is. So what's next? Like I said, I mentioned earlier, we're eventually going to overcome this problem. We're going to get people back to offices, and a lot of people need their employees in their building. Manufacturers need their employees in their building. Sales teams need to be in their building, and we're going to have to overcome this work from home in the pajamas kind of thing. And it's going to be a difficult thing getting people excited about coming back to work on a Monday morning instead of staying home. So one of the things that we do is internal incentive-based marketing. I think we're going to have to start marketing to the employees, and we're going to have to do that with incentives. My company's had really good luck in the past doing incentive-based, self-paced training for clients in the oil and gas industry. And I think this is going to work in terms of getting people back. Not just gift cards, but t-shirts, pretty much anything that develops the culture within the company. Trips to Hawaii once a year for the key employee. Anything that we can do to get people excited about coming back to work on a Monday morning and getting face-to-face with their other employees. And really, with all that said, I'm down to questions. I think I killed that in short order. So if you have questions, if you will send them to Andrea, and she can sort through them. And if you'll do me one favor, put your name and your email, or at least your name with your question. So if we don't get to it, I can send you an email later on. And if you really want to talk about any of this stuff, I hold regular office hours at Rosalind's Coffee Shop on the square, most days from 8 to 10. So come down there, I'll buy you a cup of coffee. We'll sit across the table from each other and have a real conversation about this stuff. So with that, if anybody's got questions, and I will get rid of the screen sharing, I expect. Yeah. And let me turn the chat on. So go ahead, Andrea.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna start it off. One question that I had was from the formula that you added on here, which was the communication is equal to information over entertainment. Can you give us some examples of like a perfect balance or close to a perfect balance?
And really, there is no perfect balance. It is audience specific, and that's what it's really about. In some audiences, you don't need a lot of entertainment. If you're a college professor with a captive audience that must take your class and pass your class, you don't have to give them a lot of entertainment. You can cram information down their throat. But if you're in the marketing business and then you're selling anything, it's that 3-second rule. If I lose interest in what I'm reading for 3 seconds, I'm on to the next thing. So you've got to put enough entertainment in there to keep me interested. A lot of it's visual entertainment, but it can be other stuff too. So, I mean, when you and I shake hands, that's entertainment. That's not information. That's really entertainment thing. So we exchange a lot of information through entertainment, but whatever your group, and I think we have to keep in mind who our group is. With the guys out in Burleson, the stuff that we did, the case studies we did were just raw information. There is no entertainment in those at all. But engineers are looking for raw information. They don't want to see your entertainment. They want to see exactly what it is they're looking for, and they want to see it fast. And actually, Google kind of penalizes if you have a lot of entertainment in with your information. So they're looking for it too. Hope that explains it.
So we do have one question here from Brisa. What are your thoughts on email marketing, and how does one go about building an email list?
There are several ways to do that. One of the things, I am a huge proponent of email marketing. I mean, probably half of my clients we do email marketing for. One of the main ways to build that email list is through your website. If you have a website with serious content, I'm not just talking about pictures of your building or what you ate for lunch today, but serious content that people really need to get to, they will give you their email. I won't give you my email for much of anything, but if there's something that I really need, I'll give you my email. So you can use your website to generate those lists. You can buy lists, and you have varied success with those. MailChimp tends to kick if you use a list on there, so you have to be very careful about using those. But email marketing, especially if you put somebody on a drip campaign, just go back to them once a month, and at least you stay in front of them so that when the situation comes up, they remember who you are, and you're not bothering them. I used to send postcards when I first started the business. Once a month, I would send physical postcards to clients. And today we do that through email marketing. I think that's probably the best solution to that. Newsletters, email newsletters are a fantastic solution if you have some real content that people are interested in listening to or interested in reading. So yeah, a monthly email newsletter, and you can drive them to your blog site. And once you drive people to your blog site, you can really track them with analytics and see which of the articles they were interested in. So yeah, that's to me, email marketing is an incredible solution. One of the things we don't do a lot of is social media marketing. In fact, if you came to me and I had a campaign for you and I needed to use some social media marketing for that, the person I'd call is Tom Sadler. I don't know if Tom's here this morning, but Tom is one of the best social media marketing people I've ever known. He knows all the issues of it. So in fact, social media marketing works really well for business to consumer marketing. It's not as good for business to business marketing, although LinkedIn works to a degree. So you just have to just pick and choose. And really every marketing campaign is different. It depends what you're selling, when you're selling it, who you're selling it to, and how we get to that person. So.
Yeah, and that kind of goes in with this other question that came to me from Russell. It's like there's so many different channels: website, SEO, constant contact, social media, and email. What is the most effective way to connect? But as you were saying, it all depends on your audience.
It really does depend on what it is you're selling and who your audience is and where they're buying. B2B marketing is just dramatically different than B2C marketing. It's a whole different world. I have one client that sells women's handbags, He spends $10,000 a month on social media. He also does a lot of email drip campaigns, but he also hires blog writers. He goes to everyone who writes a fashion blog in the United States, and he offers them a 10% rebate on everyone who comes from their blog to his website. So you can use blog people as a very good means of getting your message out if you get the right motivation of those people. If not, they're going to ignore you. So.
We have one here from Erica. If you are going to start a new blog, what are your favorite sites that are easy to use? And what are your thoughts on video and email marketing?
If I were going to start a new blog, I would actually make that part of my website. WordPress has some really good templates that have blog sites in them. In fact, WordPress was originally started as a blog site. You can, and I really highly recommend you do that. You want to look at analytics on that particular template. Make sure that you can analyze what people are reading. You want to make sure you have control over their responses. But especially if you can send out an email ahead of time with some sort of preview, and anybody who wants to know more clicks the learn more button on the email, and you can check which ones they're going to. You can figure out if you put 4 articles out there, you can figure out which of the 4 articles each person is interested in. And obviously you're going to hit them back with an email campaign based on that article. So in terms of specific products, I'm not sure I could tell you which. Like I say, we use WordPress on most of the sites we develop, and it handles blogs very well. So.
And then like the second part of the question was, what are your thoughts on video and email marketing?
You know, I wouldn't even think about doing social media marketing without video. Video is just, I mean, we've just gotten used to it. You can send a still image out and maybe it'll catch your attention, but everybody will stop and watch a video. I don't know if you've noticed that a bunch of these things now, it's a still image, but it has the little video forward play button on top of it. You play it, it doesn't do anything. They're doing that just to get your attention. People will always watch video. We grew up watching cartoons, so we're used to watching live action. We want to see something happening. Even if it's something simple like you standing there telling me as a talking head what I would have put into a written piece. It's just more interesting. It's more relational. It's more entertainment. So yeah, it's what we're after. I wouldn't do any kind of social media marketing without video. And again, Tom Sadler is a pro at that. He actually shoots a lot of video for his social media marketing clients.
We have a question here from Jasenia. They say, we are a commercial HVAC contractor that recently rolled out our in-house service and plumbing departments. What is the best marketing effort to push our new departments and get more traction?
Again, social media works for something like that. Because you're selling directly to consumers, you're not selling to another business. Social media works very well. If you have a list of current clients and you can build a monthly newsletter to those current clients and have a button where they can send it to a friend, share it with a friend. And then if that friend does read it, there's a button where they can enroll to get your monthly email. That works incredibly well. Anything you can do to take your existing clients and use them as a base to get to the new clients. One of the things that Paul Mayer also told me, he's fond of saying, is that every client from a referral and every referral from a client. If you can get clients to refer you to their friends, that's free marketing. So yeah, I would say if you're selling to consumers like you're talking about from plumbing and electrical and HVAC, you really want to push social media because those are good for that. You can use social media to generate demographics and put specific pay-per-click ads on there. And those pay-per-click ads really do give you a good return. So.
Now, going based off Jasenia's question, what if they were more on the commercial side? Would still social media be a good marketing effort, or would that change?
I think LinkedIn to a degree works for that. But if you're selling to businesses, go buy a list. I mean, you can buy really good lists for businesses. Consumer lists tend to change a lot, but you can find the right businesses with the right demographics in your area and go chase them. And then, it really boils down to how you want to hit it. Maybe you do a combination of actual direct mail and email marketing. Maybe you do dimensional mailer if what you're selling is big enough to pay for a dimensional mailer package, get your return on it. Then yeah, you do a combination of things. Anything it takes to get you in front of that person live. Again, the whole goal of anything we do in marketing is that sales experience. If we can get a salesperson live in front of a potential client, we've done our job. The rest is up to the salespeople. So yeah, anything you can do in terms of that, whether it's direct mail, email marketing, whatever you need to do.
Now, I heard you mention drip campaigns a lot as the questions were coming in. Can you tell us what those are and what's effective of drip campaigns?
Sure, and a lot of CRMs support this, but what you do, and especially if you start with a newsletter or a blog and you can get some sort of analytics and you know what people are interested in. Maybe you have 5 different topics that your potential customers are interested in. To each one of those customers, you set them up on a drip campaign where once a month, and I wouldn't do it more than once a month because people get sick of what they think of as spam. If once a month you hit them with an email saying, hey, we're doing this in this particular area that you're interested in. And that continues until they either opt out or you turn them into a client. I do the same thing with my clients that are actually my active clients. About once a quarter, I send something to them just to remind them of the new things we're doing and what we can do for them. Because a lot of times you've got a client that you're doing one thing for and they don't even realize you can do the other thing. So yeah, drip campaigns are really just a continual email to these people, an ongoing email. And anything you can do in one of those to get that person to share that email with someone else, that's a free hit. They shove it over to that other person. That's somebody else that wasn't on your list that's looking at it. So.
Well, I don't have any more questions on my end. Just a reminder, if you have a question before we end today's event, please put that in the chat and we'll make sure that we get that answered. Or if not, I will be sending out the recording for today and Guy's information. So if you have any more questions and you'd like to meet with him and have more conversations on the core values of marketing, then you're welcome to reach out to him. So we'll wait to see if there's more chats that come through. But as we do that, again, I just want to thank you, Guy, for your valuable information for today. And thank you again to our partners, Texas Security Bank. And thank you everybody for joining us this morning. I just want to give you a few reminders from the Garland Chamber. We have our last monthly networking event, Direct Connect, coming on November 19th at 8 a.m. And also we have some more events coming in December. On December 2nd, if you'd like to meet your local representatives, join us for the 7th biannual Legislative Forum at 8 a.m. And the last event that we have, and it's to get everybody in the holiday spirit, it's our Community Fellowship Breakfast on December 10th at 8 a.m. So, and again, if you have more questions about our events, you can go to our website, www.garlandchamber.com, and you can see more information on the events and also register. All right, well, let's see. Okay, so we didn't have any more questions coming through. So this would conclude our event. Thank you everybody again for joining us for the last bold. Thank you, Guy, and everybody have a great day.
Thanks again. Do that.